Welcome back to the Doomsday Show for January 11th, Thursday. Last night, our president asked for a lot more troops, didn't he? I can love our President Bush. Do you know President Bush belongs to the Armageddonist Society, or Dominionists, who believe that most of the planet has to be Christian before Jesus Christ returns to bring on his final destruction and his 1,000-year rule of government. You know, a lot of the men around him advise him in this way. Aren't we fortunate to have such a great and powerful believer in Doomsday, Armageddon, and eventual victory, leading the most powerful country in the world that has over 10,000 nuclear warheads facing other enemies? Think about that. There's not a country in the world that could stand up against us as Americans. Heck, not all of them together could stand up against us. We can wipe out every city on the face of the earth if we get totally pissed off and had a lunatic in office. Luckily, through our democratic elective system, we only get the very best, honest, and righteous men. After all, we can't ask for a better president than President George Bush. Except for maybe President Dick Cheney, but he's almost just as good. He's vice president. So he doesn't have all the duties of a president and just has all the power. So we have this fortunate complement of presidencies, and he's asking us to put more troops into Iraq, into Babylon. Let's face it, Iraq is Babylon. All the revelations talk about it. It's where the Persians came from. It's where the three wise men came from. And it's center stage in the revelationary quest for Doomsday. So how could we not be there? And we're sending in more troops into this bloodbath. Because you have to understand, there's not one thing uncommon about this. The most common thing about all the religions of the Middle East is that they kill each other. They believe in Doomsday. And they make it possible on a regular basis. They honor slaughter. They love it. Do you know that not too far from where our people are going, the word assassin, the order of assassins, the secret society was born? What does that mean? The word we use for assassins was born where we're sending our people. Isn't that glorious? These people are not only going to have to know what it's like to face an enemy made up of men, women, and children that just hate their guts for being there, for taking out their president, Saddam Hussein, and we hung the bastard. Oh, I'm sorry, the Iraqi courts. And ladies, I'm so sorry. I should not have called him that. I know. I apologize. But here we are. So today I want to talk to you. People have asked me a question. It says, why are you so caught up on Doomsday, and why is it important? Well, you have to understand, God created first heaven, and he was sitting around with all his angels. Well, we know that Michael was there and Gabriel was there. We know Jesus was there because the Bible says so. And Lucifer there. What? You're surprised Lucifer was there? Absolutely he was there right before the rebellion. He was a good guy. You know, God loved him. And they created these creatures, us, and this whole creation. And they created it with a temporary intention because they had a bigger project called heaven. Revelations has it all laid out. It's beautiful, you know, pearly gates and all sorts of agates and stones and streets laid out. And they wanted to put these people in there called Adam and Eve. And Adam and Eve, basically, born October 23rd, 4004 BC, spent their first couple of weeks in this perfect paradise, but they defied God. They ate the tree of good and evil, knowledge of good and evil. And because of that, every part of creation was then flawed. Think about it. God put a fruit in there that we weren't supposed to eat and flawed it. Now, we weren't stupid people because Adam and Eve could name everything in the garden. But so he kicked them out on November 10th, 4004 BC. And since then, God put the angel, the fiery sword, before the gate. And he said, until Doomsday, no one is going to get back into the garden, which is, of course, inside heaven. It's all sealed up until Doomsday. And until the destruction of everything comes, nobody can face judgment. That's right. Not you, not your grandmother, not your great-grandmother, not your great-grandmother from 100 years ago, not your great-grandfather from 1,000 years ago. Nobody has been able to get into heaven. Oh, I'm sorry, Ezekiel has. So is Elijah. But they're the only two. The rest of us are waiting at the line at the base of the throne of God, which stands before heaven. And God will judge us then, and those of us who don't fail, will be put down into, well, we don't want to talk about that. Ladies, I've already sworn enough today. And if you're Buddhist, you'll be, absorbed into your nirvana, and there's other places and other heavens. Oh yeah, I'll talk about that other time. Well, if I'm not smitten down and the end of the world doesn't come because of the fact that there's a lot of bombs going around the world right now. Bombs are everywhere. That you can do that. But when it comes down to it, unless the earth is left an eternal sacrifice to the Almighty Jehovah, we do not face heaven. In fact, nobody goes to heaven until that happens. So do you want to deny hundreds of generations of human beings the possibility of going to heaven? Of course not. And that is why we must always understand that we have to accept and even praise the moments that bring us closer to doomsday, to end this sort of temporary creation that we consider completely flawed. Without that ultimate destruction, we cannot have perfection, because perfection requires nothing ever changes. And if everything is destroyed, how could it change? The unliving don't change. So that's why we need doomsday, so that without it, we will never get into our condos in heaven. We'll never be able to see our loved ones again, except in that insufferable line that lasts half past forever. So when people ask you, says, so why do I praise, and I'm so gloriously gleeful when doomsday stories come along? Because I know it is the only thing standing between me and my future life in heaven. At least I hope so. If not, bring suntan lotion. This is Rev Richard Rizer, and I will see you tomorrow. If not, the world is over.